So in this video, I'm going to address a question that we get asked often, and that's what is your current inventory of unrestored vehicles? A lot of times people are looking for a specific year or a specific body style, and we do have quite a few unrestored vehicles shown on our website under unrestored inventory. But I do have quite a few vehicles in stock besides those. So in this video, I'll actually go over the complete list of unrestored vehicles that I have in stock. There's about 20 vehicles. But before I get into that, let me just talk a little bit about the vehicles that we restore for sale on the website. So we do full restorations, not only on customer vehicles, but also on our vehicles from our unrestored inventory. The vehicles that are the most popular are ones like these: early 2As, soft top, short wheelbase. This is the vehicle that we've restored the most of. If you look at our builds page, you will see a whole lot of these early 2As, most of them in marine blue. This is our most popular model. So if we're gonna build a vehicle for resale, chances are we're gonna be building an early 2A like this, short wheelbase with a soft top. But we have quite a few interesting unrestored vehicles in stock that maybe we wouldn't build as a for sale vehicle for our website, but it might suit someone who's looking for something a little bit different. A little bit more information about our unrestored inventory and how I determine which vehicles to buy and which vehicles to avoid. First of all, I've obviously bought quite a few Land Rovers. I went through my photo album and counted at least 67 series Land Rovers that I've purchased, and I think the number's probably up there more around 75 or maybe more. So a lot of these were barn finds or even woods or field finds, but they all shared a certain commonality, and that's that they had all the right attributes to be fully restored. I would rather buy a vehicle that's all original and has good body panels on it than a vehicle that's running and driving that might have a really shiny coat of paint that could be hiding a lot of Bondo and body filler. So in the past, the absolute worst vehicles that we restored were always the ones that looked really good. We recently had a 109 that looked great, and people even commented on it and said, "Why are you restoring this?" It actually turned out to be a really rough vehicle. The roof was rotted through. The 1/4 panel had about an inch of Bondo. The bulkhead, after it came back from blasting, was like Swiss cheese. This was not as good a vehicle as something I literally pulled out of the woods up in Massachusetts a few years ago. And although this vehicle was running and driving and the one I pulled out of the woods was not, none of that really factors into the equation because every aspect of the vehicle is being rebuilt anyway. Even if the engine is seized, we're still going to hammer those pistons out, have it bored 20 over, and by the time the engine's rebuilt, there'll be no difference between that engine and one that was running perfectly prior to restoration. So a big part of the reason why I started collecting all of these unrestored vehicles is that this aspect of restoration can be very stressful for customers, because if you're going out there to buy a vehicle specifically to restore, it's really tough to know if you're buying the right vehicle or not, and if you're paying the right price for it. It might be easy to justify paying $10,000 for a series Land Rover just because it's running and driving, thinking that that would be an advantage for doing a restoration, when in reality, that $2,000 truck that's sitting in the barn that's not running may actually be a better choice. So it can be a little counterintuitive, and this can be a little stressful because typically we don't know if a vehicle is going to be a good restoration candidate until after it's purchased. Something else to note is that after we purchase an unrestored vehicle, we do a teardown on that vehicle so that we can assess the condition of all the parts. Occasionally, we'll do a teardown on a vehicle and we just will find so much body filler and damage that we end up just using that vehicle for parts. Another thing we find is that customers may have a vehicle that they've been sinking a lot of money into year after year, but the vehicle isn't quite where they'd like it to be, and it's kind of at a crossroads where they could fully restore it or they could sell it as is. But offering our own unrestored vehicles can solve this problem, because we can simply take their vehicle in on trade, use one of our cores, and that way they could recoup a good chunk of money on their own vehicle, but start over with a vehicle that's really suitable for a full restoration. And I truly believe that spending the time and money to have a series Land Rover restored right will actually be more cost effective in the end than simply patching and repairing an unrestored Land Rover to keep it on the road. All the while you're losing valuable time behind the wheel and dealing with constant headaches and breakdowns. So that was a little bit of info on our philosophy behind keeping the unrestored vehicles in stock. And I mentioned how the early Series 2As, the NADA North American Dollar area ones, like this blue 88 soft top, we're just going ahead and restoring these. So you will be able to find these for sale in restored condition on our website. So I'm going to go over that list of about 20 core vehicles right now and explain some of the interesting things and some of the differences between the years. All right, so we'll start with the early trucks. So right now I have 3 Series 2s in stock. So the first one is a 1959 Series 2 pickup, and it was originally marine blue. So this would make an excellent restoration if you want something a little bit different. And of course it could be painted any of the 6 original colors, but marine blue on a pickup I think would look really good. So the next Series 2 we have available is actually in mock-up phase right now and will be available for sale on the website, but I figured I would just mention it. It's a 1959. It's going to be built with a removable hardtop. So it has the cat flap in the back of the hardtop so that you can have a no-top truck. When the hardtop is removed, put the hardtop back on for winter. This was an NADA vehicle, and the original color was pastel green. So the third Series 2 I have is actually a right-hand drive. It was originally bronze green, and it's an 88. So this would be an interesting vehicle to keep right-hand drive because it would speak to the British heritage of this vehicle. But of course, we can convert it to left-hand drive as well. And being a Series 2, it has all of the really neat things like the turn-type vent flap openers, the horn mounted on the stalk on the steering column, all the really neat things that make the Series 2 such a neat vehicle. So like I mentioned before, the early 2A NADA 88-inch is in super high demand. I don't have any of those unrestored vehicles in stock. But I do have a couple other early 2As. I have a 1962 NADA 4-door station wagon. I literally pulled this vehicle out of the woods up in Massachusetts. It was originally marine blue. This would be a great restoration, either as a soft top or a hard top. And I also have a 1965 5-door, not an NADA, but left-hand drive. The original color was pastel green. So again, that could be a great hard top or soft top. The third early 2A I have is a 1963, and it's a British military vehicle. So it's originally right-hand drive, although, like I said before, that can be converted. And the thing that's really neat about the military vehicles are all the kind of the different lenses, all the small differences that make the military vehicle unique. It has a more squared off rear cross member. We do have a galvanized frame for it in stock with this correct type rear cross member. It has the bumperettes. It has all sorts of interesting details, and that would be great in like a matte bronze green. I have 2 1968 Series 2As in stock, and this is an interesting year because it's the last year of the headlights in the grille, which a lot of people prefer, but it has the later style windshield wipers and it has the later style heater duct, which is a big improvement. It also has the dash that's painted gloss black. So the interior on the 68 looks a lot like a late 2A. The exterior looks a lot like an early 2A. So we've done a couple of these, and it's a really neat vehicle because it was really only offered for about 2 years. So from about mid-1967 up to late 1968, you'll find this configuration. So I have 2 of these 1968s available, and one of them was a barn find that I recently picked up in Maine. And you can see in the photos, it's squirreled away in this barn. You almost can't tell that there's a series Land Rover in there. All you see is the grille. But it's an original NADA 68 Series 2A. It was originally marine blue. So the other 1968 was actually originally pastel green, but it's not an NADA. It was actually originally shipped to the US Virgin Islands. Like I mentioned, this is the headlights in the grille. It has the interior more similar to the late 2A. And I have 1 original marine blue NADA one and 1 pastel green non-NADA one. So I also have a whole bunch of late 2As. So these really run from 1969 to 1971. So we'll start with some 69s. I have a 5-door that was originally right-hand drive. So if you wanted to do a wagon with the headlights in the fenders, those are hard to find because they weren't originally imported to the US. The last year for the 109 5-door in the US was 1967. So they're a little bit rare here, and that would be a vehicle we could do either as a right-hand drive or a left-hand drive, and we could do that as a soft top or a hard top. The original color of that truck was bronze green, which is actually a pretty nice choice for a 109. Then I have 3 other 1969s. They're all NADAs. And there's a red one, a blue one, and a pastel green one. So all your typical colors. The red would be really nice to do in a late 2A with the limestone hardtop. I think that would really pop. But of course, blue is the most popular color, and the pastel with a limestone hardtop would also look really great. So the limestone wheels, limestone hardtop with a pastel green. I think that would look really good. And the thing that's interesting about the 69 is that it has the headlights in the fenders, just like a normal late 2A, but it actually has the deeper rocker panels. So it has the 5-inch rocker panels instead of the narrow ones. So it has a little bit of a carryover from the early trucks. And the 69s simply have reflectors on the fenders instead of the side marker lights. So really, it's just a late 2A with deeper sills and reflectors instead of side marker lights. Then I have a couple of 1970s. So I have a limestone one and a red one. And limestone, I really feel like, is an underappreciated color. I think limestone looks really clean, and the interior of a limestone truck is super bright and light and airy, and it really has an understated and classy look. And I actually really love how the sand-colored soft top looks on a limestone truck. So the last year of the Series 2A was 1971, so I have about 5 1971s in stock. And the last year of any model year is always the most desirable for collector value. So the 1971 being the last year of the all-metal dash series is going to have a little bit more collector value than some of the other years. So with a late 2A, you have a lot more features than in early 2A. You have backup lights, you have windshield washers, you have 2-speed wipers, you have the heater ducting that works a little bit better. It's really the most refined version of the Series 2A. The next year, the 1972, would be the change to the Series 3, which has the plastic dash. And a lot of people find that really not quite as nice as the all-metal dash. So the Series 3 collector value is a little bit lower. So there's a couple interesting 71s mixed in there. So there's a couple limestone ones, like I mentioned before, really classy and understated color. There's a factory marine blue 1971, and I know we built quite a few late 2As in marine blue. They're always in high demand. One of these 1971s is actually a vehicle we're building for resale right now. So it's the pastel green 1971. And we haven't really built that many pastel green late 2As. And this is a color that's just as popular as the marine blue, and it looks really great with the limestone wheels and the sand soft top. And of course, this vehicle is getting our full version 4 specs with the 5-speed and the EFI, and it's also getting the leather and tweed seats, which looks really good with the pastel green. It would have had black vinyl seats from the factory, but the chestnut leather and tweed, I think, looks a little bit nicer than the black vinyl against the pastel green. So this vehicle's currently being built and should be done later this month. And then the last 71 we have is actually a one-owner truck from West Virginia. So I have all of the original paperwork from this truck from day one, which is really fascinating to have all the owner's manuals and pretty much every bit of documentation. This is also a poppy red truck, which is a little bit more rare than your marine blue and pastel green. And poppy red is a really bright and vibrant red. It's not like the other series colors where they're all very kind of muted and understated. You really need the limestone top to break up the red. Otherwise, it would be a little overpowering. But it looks great with the limestone wheels, limestone top, and the red body. It's definitely a great color for someone who wants something that'll stand out in a sea of marine blue and pastel green. And like I mentioned, since this is a one-owner truck, this vehicle will always have that extra little bit of collector value. And I forgot to mention that all of our 1971s are NADA vehicles. So just to summarize, we went from the 1959 Series 2 all the way up to the 1971 Series 2A. And throughout this span of years, we can apply our same version 4 package. Drivetrain is the same, brakes are the same, suspension is the same, wiring is the same. Basically, everything is identical on our version 4 except for the aesthetics of the body. So that allows you to really choose a vehicle that speaks to you, whether that's that British military vehicle in a matte paint job or the beautiful poppy red late 2A with the limestone roof. It really comes down to what aesthetics you enjoy. Beyond the Series 2, I do have quite a few Series 3s in stock. A lot of NADA vehicles and some rest of world. But the Series 3 doesn't have as much collector value as the Series 2A because of the plastic dash. But if you have a personal connection to a Series 3 and you absolutely just have to have a Series 3, of course we could restore that vehicle and apply our version 4 specs to it. So just to throw a curveball in the mix, the last of the 20 unrestored vehicles we have is actually a 1994 Defender. So this is an NAS Defender, meaning that it was originally imported to the US. So it has the V8 engine, it has the 5-speed transmission, and it has the soft top with the roll cage. They have a significant amount of collector value over, say, the rest of world UK spec or Spanish spec Defenders. They have a numbered badge in the back. So just like any NAS Defender of this age, you can see it has significant rust and corrosion. We can apply our full galvanizing package to this. Stuff like the wiring harness is available new. You can buy a new wiring harness from AutoSparks, including the harness specific to the ECU. Parts are a little bit harder to find than, say, for a 300 TDI, but this would be an excellent candidate for a full restoration. And the Coniston green is actually a really nice color on these NAS 90s. So of course, choosing from 20 unrestored vehicles is a little bit overwhelming. A typical question would be, which one should I go with? So my take on this is that there's several different parameters. The best all-around vehicle, not only for high collector value, but also functionality, is the early 2A soft top like this one here. This seems to suit most people. The soft top will allow nice airflow through the vehicle. The vehicle has the provenance of being an NADA. So I would say your quintessential New England truck is the blue early 2A NADA. And these look really great parked in front of Cape Cod style houses with weathered shingles. They look great out on the beach. They're fantastic to explore the wooded hills of northwestern Connecticut. You can park them easy because they're short wheelbase, they're narrow. So exploring little villages in coastal New England or up in the hills of the Berkshires of Massachusetts, they just seem to suit everyone. The sides can be rolled up on the soft top easily, so it allows airflow on hot days. I would say for a customer that has to haul around his extended family and friends, go for the 5-door, but with a soft top. You get the best of both worlds. You can still roll up the sides and take off the door tops, just like on the 88 for those hot summer days going down to the beach or going out to get ice cream. But you have the extra doors with forward-facing seats, so your passengers can simply hop in rather than folding down the tailgate and climbing into the inward-facing bench seats. Which the 109 also has in the back for extra passenger capacity. So with that configuration, you have comfortable seating for 5, 2 in the front, 3 in the middle row. If you need 4 extra seats, you have the jump seats in the back of the 109s. That's comfortable seating for 9. Even if you wanted to utilize the middle seat, that would bump it up to 10. So if you have an extended family or a whole bunch of friends that want to go out and hit the beach, you could all pile into the Series 2A 109 and roll up the sides, take off the door tops, and you're good to go. I would say if you're on the fence about early series ownership and you need some practical reasons to really justify the vehicle, go with the 1959 pickup. That way you have the best of both worlds. You have a really fun classic car, just like these 88s, but you have a 6-foot pickup bed for making Home Depot runs or getting mulch. We recently had a customer who goes out to Block Island every summer, swing by the shop for a battery in his 109 pickup. And when he got here, the back of his truck was full of all sorts of gardening supplies and everything he needs to enjoy his summer out on Block Island. You're not really going to fit all that in an 88. So a 109 can be really justified easily as a utilitarian pickup truck for use around the house and doing projects. Yet you still have a driving experience that's way more fun than your typical Ford Ranger pickup. And then of course the question always comes up, which vehicle would I choose? I have a little bit different parameters than most people. I would actually choose the 1963 military 88-inch with no top, right-hand drive, a 2.5 liter engine with fuel injection 5-speed and the whole version 4 package. But I would go with a matte paint. And I'm not sure if I would go with matte bronze green like it was originally, or a matte sand. For whatever reason, I'm drawn to vehicles that have a more desert aesthetic, and the NAO matte tan would look great on a military vehicle. I might even do a matte sand, which is like a little bit more of a saturated tan from the NAO matte tan, but it would definitely be one of those three options. And this would be a dedicated no top truck. I wouldn't even have a hoop set or even a bikini top for it, or even door tops. When I was 18, I had a Jeep that had no top, and I drove it up to Canada. And that experience left a really strong impression on me. It rained most of the time, and we just had some goggles and a towel to wipe the inside of the windshield, but I had the absolute time of my life. And this trip really opened my eyes to how when you're driving a really interesting vehicle like this, people just open up to you and want to talk to you and tell you about interesting places to go and just really legitimately care about how you're doing, versus if you're just driving a modern car, you're basically invisible. I think that driving that military 88 with matte paint and right-hand drive and no top would just bring back some of those emotions that I felt with my very first 4x4 when I was 18. So that's the full list of the unrestored inventory here at NAO. Like I mentioned before, if you don't want to wait the year, we have vehicles available for sale immediately, like this 1962 and soon the 1971, and after that, the 1959. But if you have something specific in mind, like, for example, the four-door soft top, you're going to have to commission the restoration. And to do that, you can simply send us an email and start a conversation. We can produce a spec sheet for you so that you could see all of the cost involved in building the vehicle, all of the parts that will go into it, and an estimated completion date. So feel free to send us an email and let us know which vehicle you're interested in.